Blue Fortress Energy's March workshops on entrepreneurship ignited much interest among existing and hopeful young entrepreneurs. The message of hope and inspiration from experts certainly stimulated those who attended the workshops. Here's our Achievers feature. Professor Danny Warshay of the elite Brown University in the United States says empathy plays an important role in the eventual success of entrepreneurial ventures. Watch this interchange with young Jamaican entrepreneurs.
At this stage of this first part of the process, it's exactly what you said, which is feeling what the other person is feeling. Now, there might be time in the future when you want to judge, where you want to provide a substitute, but that's nowhere near the time we're talking about now in this first of those three steps. In finding and validating somebody's unmet need, in order to really find it, we have to reserve judgment and relax our own bias and simply put ourselves in their shoes.
Here's Professor Warshay's advice on pitching your offerings in the early stages.
A reminder that we are observing and listening, and we're disciplining ourselves to avoid what all of us in this room, and I conclude myself, as entrepreneurs find really difficult, and that is to avoid pitching. Now, why is it that anybody here who considers herself or himself an entrepreneur would find it difficult to discipline ourselves not to pitch? Why is there such a strong temptation, even in this really early stage, to pitch? Why is that? I'm sorry?
Eagerness to get your idea across.
Yeah, eagerness. What else? Same thing? Validation. We're looking because we are eager to hear the validation, so we want some feedback on that. Yeah, I'm perfectly aware of that. I fall prey to that myself, so I'm not casting aspersions, telling people to do things that I find simple. I find it hard too. And so I'm empathetic with you if you are realizing that that's true for you. Yeah, anybody who considers herself or himself an entrepreneur is likely to feel eager to get out there for validation or to solve someone's problem. I've got the solution for someone's problem. I'm so eager to get out there and solve it. I'm here to say, avoid the temptation to pitch in this really early part of the process because it's just not the right time. And we will be blinded and biased by our own mission and miss the nuances, and I'm going to prove this to you, by the way, associated with understanding the point of view they have by putting ourselves in their shoes, if we focus instead on pitching.
Professor Warshay has an interesting take on market surveys, essentially saying such surveys are not as effective as a bottoms-up approach.
No one lives their life normally filling out a survey. It's a contrived way of interacting with people, not a normal, natural way. And so rather than observing and listening and gathering authentic insight into the way somebody lives her or his life, you're contriving and biasing the interaction in this 8.5 by 11 piece of paper or the equivalent online. So there may be a time way down the line to do a survey. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm also not talking about doing focus groups, because the same thing. Has anybody in here ever participated in a focus group? Yeah. I can't imagine you felt that that was a natural, normal way of living your life, right? I mean, they tend to be dominated by one person. You're getting a very contrived set of questions. And so focus groups are not what I'm talking about either. And I'm not even talking, and this may surprise some of you, about getting feedback. And why is that? The reason is, remember where we are in this three-step process. We're in the earliest part of the process where we're simply looking to understand, to validate unmet needs. And so we have no idea even what the value proposition is, let alone what it is that we would be pitching. And so we're nowhere close to the stage where it's appropriate to be asking people for feedback. And the other is, if you do ask for feedback, that feedback tends to come in a bimodal distribution, either really positive or really negative. And neither one of those is very useful. Now, why do you think, if you are bouncing an idea off of someone and you're asking for feedback, you might tend to get really positive feedback? Oh man, that is the coolest idea ever. More power to you. Why do you think you might get positive feedback? They don't want to hurt your feelings, exactly. Dwayne's very sensitive. The last thing he wants to do is hurt his friend's feelings, or even if it's not his friend. You can just tell from the enthusiasm in their voice that they want to hear some positive reinforcement, and it doesn't cost me anything to give it to you, so why would I disappoint you? So that's not really useful at all. And the other is, you might actually get really negative feedback. And that negative feedback might come from the fact that people feel defensive. It does feel like you're pitching to me prematurely. Way too early, it's half-baked. It's not even close to baked. So it's not the right time to ask for feedback.
Listening and observing are vital in the quest for true entrepreneurial success, and he related the tale of some marketers observing a woman stabbing the side of a box of detergent to get at its contents.
And probably the most powerful part of this example is that the woman herself didn't know that she had a problem. And guess what? It's not her responsibility to know that. And it's certainly not her responsibility to solve the problem. That's our responsibility. And so it takes often listening really well and observing really well to discover and validate an unmet need that the consumer herself didn't know she had. So it's rarely at least, as simple as just tell me what your problems are, you jot them down, and you go solve them.
Here's one Jamaican entrepreneur, Tariq Kidu, whose hobby developed into a successful business just from listening and observing, and above all, acting.
A business called Back to Basics Motorcycle Safety Mission. It's just safety training. I'm just a motorcyclist. I used to like to just go around and share knowledge with my friends, riding group, etc.
So you turn your hobby into a business?
Essentially, a hobby, a passion, I love for it, and anything I get involved in, I like to just study and read and get as much information as possible. So I used to just share it, and I started doing presentations for Grenells, doing their workshop every year, and I'd do presentations. And how it became a business essentially is Road Safety Unit contacted me, and somebody contacted them needing safety training for some motorcyclists, so they called me, and I went and I did the presentation asking for just a stipend. And at the end of the workshop, the client looked at me and said, look here, Mr. Kidu, a stipend won't do what you delivered. That all-day workshop was excellent. You need to actually do this thing properly. And then the motorcyclists themselves who were at the workshop stood up and said the same thing. They said, boss man, our number one criticism is you need to carry this right across Jamaica. Why are you not teaching this to the entire country? One old man said to me, boy, he's been riding for 30 years. And for the 30 years, he had never, ever heard half of what he was taught in that workshop. So it was really that was a real call to action, really. That one man, that one class, that one client who said, look here, you're doing this just out of your heart, but you need to spread the message naturally.
So how has the business evolved now? You have a big clients and you...
We're strong partners with the National Road Safety Council. Our biggest client is Celebration Brands. A lot of people don't know Celebration Brands. Their products, Red Stripe, Pepsi, distributed from all across the island through around 65 motorcyclists who go around from shop to shop and inspect what's in the fridge. Right, look to see what stock needs to be taken, and then the trucks come behind them basically, the following day or later in the week and restock. So about $12 billion a year in products between Red Stripe and Pepsi is moved through 65 motorcyclists, and we do training for those motorcyclists, and we've had excellent results. Just the other day they let me know it's around 46% reduction in injuries.
An interesting anecdote there on the genesis of a successful non-traditional business. Listening and observing are indeed powerful tools. That's the Achievers.